For those of you who are just joining me, I'm Shay, Your Love Diva. I am a master certified love strategist. Basically, I'm the best in the world at what it is that I do with helping women to heal from the inside out and attract their romantic best friend. I run a top level love mastery agency, helping women all around the world to be able to heal what's blocking them and attract their romantic best friend. So if you're looking for a formula based in science, ma'am, that works for everybody, anybody, no matter what you look like, your age, your size, then you are in the right place. And I have so much that I need to cover with you. So please go get your notepad, because I'm going to say this, what I'm teaching you today, I'm going to say it one time. I wanted to teach you guys about the science of attraction. What are the 6 phases and how are you dating based on your unique love archetype? First of all, you don't have to settle, ladies. You just simply need to know what you're doing. You simply need a formula based in science. There are 6 phases. And here's the thing, y'all. There are 6 phases to every relationship. 6 phases. And here's the thing. Where's my ladies who haven't been in a relationship and it's been more than a year? Say I. If you have not been in a relationship for over a year, say I. Maybe because you got your heart broken. Maybe because you're scared of getting hurt. Maybe because you feel like there's pee in the dating pool. Maybe because you don't feel safe with dating. You know, it's because you don't know what you're doing. Say I if it's been over a year. Okay, listen. There's one of you guys who just was with a man last night. That man came over to your house. You was just with him last night. And you don't know this, but he went home. He has a wife. Okay? He's lying to you. He went home and he went with his wife. And not only did he go home to his wife, he left your house, he slept with you, and then turned around and went home and went to his wife. It was like 3 lives ago. Y'all, I have to tell you guys this story. Okay? Because ladies, this is really important. A lot of you guys are just settling too much. Okay, you're not playing anything safe. You were designed, it even says in the Bible, man was not meant to be alone. You were designed to be with your person. So you have to heal those love blocks in order to be with the right person. And because you haven't healed, for those of you who are dating, then you're settling. And so today I had a client that enrolled into Boss Diva, and I was like, okay, because not everybody can get into Boss Diva. Like, you have to qualify to get into Boss Diva. I need to make sure you're ready, and I need to make sure that you're serious. And so I was asking her questions like, why us? Why do this? Why now? And she said, do you remember when you did the live and you said that you drive a red car and the man that you're sleeping with is sleeping with other people and you know he's cheating and you need to go to the doctor? For those of you who are new to me, I since the time I was 5, I was about 4 or 5, when I became aware that I had a gift that I could hear people's thoughts. I could see into people's past, present, or future. So with my clients, I can see what is blocking them. I see what they're going through now. I can see what happened to them in the past. I can also see their soulmate, and I can see when they're going to meet their soulmate, how they're going to meet their soulmate, everything else, right? Okay. So anyway, the client that signed up today to join Boss Diva, she was like, Shay, you were talking to me. She said, something in my spirit was like, she's talking to me. She went to the doctor. Guess what, y'all? Guess what? Guess what? He gave her something. He gave her something. I told her I was going to tell this story because I need to wake y'all up. I need y'all to understand this is not a game out here. He gave her something. And she said, Shay, if you didn't do what you did, oh my God, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. She said, if you didn't do that live, and if you didn't do that reading and say something, I wouldn't have went to the doctor. She said, I would have had no reason to go to the doctor. And then when I went to the doctor, then I found out that yes, he actually did. And she broke down crying. She was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to heal. I have to fix this. This is a pattern of mine and I'm ready to change, y'all. And I see so many of you guys, even the ones of you, I see people that's been crying. There's several of you who have been so freaking frustrated. You have been trying all kinds of things. You've been studying, you've been working on yourself, you've been journaling, you've been praying for your husband, you've been doing all this stuff, and you're frustrated with why it hasn't worked yet. But I want to explain to you guys and help you to understand what is happening. What is happening out here in this dating game? What is happening that's causing you to put yourself in danger? What is happening with those of you who are remaining chronically single? And how can you fix this? Okay, I'm going to teach you how you can fix this. I'm going to give you 3 seductive secrets. So those of you who just want the cheap seat advice, I can just go ahead and give you that real quick. Okay, first secret number 1, there's a trick that you can do. When you look at a man, take your right eye and look at his left eye. It does something to him. Okay, it's something with the brain. It ignites attraction. So automatically, when you take your right eye, look at their left eye, then it ignites something. There's another trick. It's called the triangular eye technique, okay? And the way the triangular eye technique goes is you look in their left eye first, and then in their right eye, and then their mouth, okay? So it's, you look left, right, down, and then back up to their right, okay? There's that. Then another technique is that when you are talking to a man, always wear red lipstick, look him in the eyes and smile. I don't care wherever you go, okay? Look at him in the eyes, wear your red lipstick, because love is a science. When you wear red lipstick, what that does is it triggers his sex hormones. It triggers his attraction hormones. It reminds him of your vaginal parts. That's the reason why women, even back in the day, red was the color that they wore on their lips. That's why the geisha would wear red on their lips. It's just science. Basically, this is just science. So when you wear red on your lips, it reminds them automatically that it's just in them, okay? This is biochemically wired into us. It triggers attraction. Literally, you can go out and do those techniques that I just told you. You'll have a man in a week. Promise you. Go do that, okay? If you have been single for longer than 3 months, and or you keep attracting the same man with a different face, and or you have been trying to fix your love life and you haven't been able to fix your love life yet, then that means you fall in one of 5 categories of the love archetype, okay? The love archetype that I created based on my 20 years of helping women to heal their love blocks, become the best version of them, and attract their romantic best friend is something that I created so that from watching all these patterns and learning about it and seeing that every woman either fit into one of the 5 love archetypes. And based on her archetype, that determined how she was going to date. That determined what her unique love blocks were and the kind of men that she was going to attract. So there's 5 of them. There's the ruby, there's the amethyst, there's the onyx, there's a diamond, and then there's the citrine. Here's how amethyst dates. Understand that there are 6 phases to every relationship when you're dating. So there you have the attraction phase. Take some notes, ma'am. I'm not going to repeat myself. All right, you have the attraction phase, you have the courting phase, you have the pull away phase, then you have the commitment, engagement, then marriage. And then marriage is, you start all over again. Okay. Now, the way an amethyst approach relationships is that an amethyst has been sexually violated either in childhood, most often is in childhood, or at some point in her life. And because of that, she has this gaping wound. She doesn't feel safe. She's constantly looking for a man that makes her feel safe. She's constantly looking for a man that makes her feel wanted. And she's constantly trying to heal that wound through covering it with relationships, covering it with interactions with men. And oftentimes she uses sex as a form of expression of love, but really it's just her trying to get a connection that she's been unable to get because that pain hasn't yet been healed. So an amethyst tends to attract the most toxic relationships. Why? Because amethysts literally have blindfolds over their eyes. And the reason why they have blindfolds over their eyes is because the trauma was so significant that they had to shut down, where they couldn't see reality. They had to put it to a part of their brain to where it wasn't real. So then they had to create a fantasy. So a lot of amethysts will see that a guy, oh, he's a great guy, or oh, he's my friend, or, you know, that he has good intentions, and she won't see him for who he is, even though he's showing himself to be a narcissist. A lot of narcissists love an amethyst. But the amethysts take the most extreme men, like men who are liars, cheaters, abusers, really grimy men, oftentimes gravitate to the amethyst. So when she's dating, she dates sex appeal first or shut down, guarded fear first. And either way, it tends to attract men who want to violate her or take from her, whether that's mentally or emotionally. So in the attraction phase, then this man's going to love bomb the heck out of her. He's going to tell her whatever to make her feel safe. Because as long as he makes her feel safe, then she opens up. And then she ends up having sex with him too soon because she thinks he's the real deal. And then that's when the negative dysfunctional relationship begins. Okay. And if you are a ruby, rubies are the type A, make it happen type boss ladies. Usually a ruby is usually executive. Rubies like to be business owners. Rubies are usually leaders or bosses. They're usually the one who their friends and family go to. They have all the answers and solutions. You notice you're always there for everybody else. But then when it's your turn, you turn around and you're like, wait a minute, there's nobody there for you. Rubies often carry everybody and everything. Rubies feel like if they don't do it, if they're not doing it themselves, then it's not getting done right. They like to be in control of their world. And rubies usually has a small group of friends. Rubies don't let a lot of people intimately in their world. And so for a man to get into her world, then she has to be able to usually look up to him in some kind of way or admire him in some kind of way. So rubies oftentimes fall for the man who's the narcissist or the man babies. And the reason why is, another thing about a ruby is rubies tend to also be perfectionists, overachievers, because when they were younger, then their caretakers didn't really acknowledge them or give them the attention or give them a sense of a feeling of significance. So they were like, you're going to see me, so I'm going to prove to you that I'm worthy to be seen. So then they would perform in school, or they would perform in sports, or they got out and performed in their career, right? So being an overachiever is a trauma response often, okay? Being an overachiever is a trauma response. Not saying it's not good. I'm not saying that your accomplishments aren't good, baby. Be proud of it. But I am telling you, being that overachieving ruby, and the thing about a ruby is a ruby often will fill her day out with work. So she spends an exorbitant amount of time working and she's drained. And oftentimes rubies are tired of doing it all. But also a ruby doesn't like to make mistakes. Rubies can't stand to fail. They can't stand when they had that man that broke their heart, who they really trusted, then a ruby is more mad at herself when that happens. A ruby can't stand that. So then what a ruby would do is a ruby will shut down for years. They will go years without dating. They will go years without really letting a man in, or they will subconsciously intentionally keep choosing a Build-A-Bear or a man that they like, but they're not too much into, because they can always say, I didn't really try that hard. Oftentimes rubies have a fixed mindset. So if they make a mistake, then they blame themselves. They think there's something wrong with them. There's something broken with them. It's also hard for a ruby to get a love coach, because a ruby would rather eat glass and pull their eyeballs out than to ask for help. They think that it's saying that there's something wrong with them or that they're broken in order for them to come to me and say, hey, can you help me to get this right? Okay? For a ruby. However, a ruby, when she gets it, because she doesn't like to waste her time and her money, a ruby will invest. There's no limit. She will invest in herself when she finally gets it. But a ruby will attract a narcissist, and narcissists love rubies. You want to know why a narcissist love rubies? A narcissist love rubies because rubies don't like being wrong. So a narcissist will play on that. He will make her feel like you aren't doing this right, or you must be cheating, or they will keep nitpicking at a ruby, so she keeps looking at herself and trying to prove herself. And while he keeps her distracted with trying to prove herself, he's off cheating. He's off lying. He's off being a loser. He's off stealing her money. He's off mistreating her. He's stressing her the hell out with hours-long arguments, because a ruby, she gonna make sure you understand she's right, even to her detriment. And then she often attracts a man baby because a ruby believes, I gotta do it myself in order for it to be right. So then a man baby's like, great, I ain't gotta do it. Matter of fact, ruby will attract that man. You know how there was like that viral video about how men weaponize women, where they're that helplessness, that intentional helplessness? Oftentimes rubies attract those kind of husbands. The kind of husband that will act like they don't know how to change a baby's diaper so that she does it, or act like he doesn't know how to cook or clean or do laundry. The weaponizing competence, exactly. Rubies attract those kind of men often. Now understand that you can have overlapping archetypes. So you can be a ruby amethyst, but the way it's calculated is that there's priorities. So then the test will show that if your priority is amethyst, then the amethyst will cover the ruby and the other parts, aspects about you of love blocks that need to be healed. So when people are part of Boss Diva, then there's a customized journey based on their unique archetype, right? So when a ruby is dating, she'll have a man that pursues her. She'll have a man that will go all out for her. She'll have a man that shows up and he seems like he's a great guy at first. That's the thing, ladies. He's always great in the beginning. It baffles my mind when a woman comes to me and then she says, hey, Shay, I met somebody 2 weeks ago. I believe he's the one. You just met him 2 weeks ago, ma'am. How do you know that he's the one? I could just feel it because he's great to me. He talks to me. I feel safe with him. I feel like he's on my level. He has a degree, because, you know, rubies, they love for the man to be decorated. Okay? A ruby loves a decorated man. They love the man that has the money, that supposedly has the credit, that got the job, that got the car and everything else. So when a ruby is dating, he will act like he's falling for you, y'all. Like, He will put on the mask. He will lay it on thick. He will spend money because he knows you're bougie. He knows that's what you expect. He will do all the things. And then he will switch on you as soon as you start to fall for him. As soon as he has your heart, and he knows the moment that he has your heart, he knows what your insecurities are. He knows your insecurity is that you, underneath all of that, underneath the facade that you have it together, underneath the facade that you're misconfident, making it happen, high achiever, that you still have a sense of feeling of unworthiness. There's still an unworthiness factor. And you're constantly proving yourself through your accomplishments, through your titles, through your career, and he plays on that like clockwork for a Ruby. It's not hard. So I'm gonna do the citrine. If you came out with a citrine, then that means as a citrine, then you tend to attract abusive relationships. You most likely grew up watching abuse. You most likely grew up watching a parent be abused. You most likely was verbally abused when you was growing up. You had a very critical parent, and that very critical parent would put you down, talk about your weight. You could have had a sibling that bullied you or picked on you, or you were bullied and picked on in school. And so you tend to now attract men who are abusive. Oftentimes they will be mentally, emotionally abusive. They can also be physically abusive. As a citrine, you either was in a marriage that was abusive, and you tend to attract abusers. Okay? And that's because that's what your subconscious mind considers to be normal. So when you get into a relationship, again, the guy seems like he is like a choir boy. He seems like he's nice and sweet. He has the smoothest game. He's saying all the right things. He seems safe, and he's not. So what I find with the citrine is either they're going to attract the man who got game, he's super smooth, and then he's abusive, and or the really safe guy, and they have no passion. They're more like roommates. They're more like friends. He doesn't sexually stimulate her at all. At all. It's like a chore for her to do anything with him. For my citrines who end up marrying the safe guy. And she married the safe guy because she either was in an abusive relationship and or she grew up in an abusive relationship. So then now she's with a man that couldn't make it rain even if he wanted to. There's nothing he could do to turn her on. She basically settled because it was safe. Now the onyx are the women who they're empathic. Now a lot of women, like I said, they overlap with the archetype. So a lot of you will find that you are like a ruby, amethyst, onyx, and you're also empathic. Okay? So for my onyx, you are empathic. You are the type of person that would give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Ma'am. And understand, being empathic is a trauma response. It's because you grew up in an environment that wasn't emotionally safe. You grew up in an environment that wasn't emotionally safe. And so you had to walk on eggshells. You had to be able to quickly tell the temperature of what mood was whatever the caregiver was that was there. And so you learned how to be able to read people well. You learned how to be able to read people's emotions, their feelings, where they were at. You learned how to be able to read them well. The problem with the onyx is oftentimes onyx don't have boundaries. Onyx oftentimes are people pleasers. And so you will have friends that just think they can say whatever they want to you. They take advantage of you. You overgiven in relationships. You the one that it's your man's birthday, and here you are doing the abso-freaking-lutely most. Okay? You doing the most. You want to buy this man a Rolex, a car, a boat. You just doing too much. Okay? You give way too much. And did you know that when you overgive to somebody, you create resentment? Overgiving breeds resentment, ladies. That's a golden nugget for those of you who caught it. This is the onyx. Onyx tend to attract married men. So onyx will attract narcissists, liars, cheaters, and married men. Love and onyx. The reason why is because in onyx, they're sympathetic. They understand. So when a married man comes along, first of all, he'll lie. He won't even tell you he's married at first. But then when she finds out that he's married and he tells a sob story, and then all he has to do is start crying and say that my wife abuses me. She threatens to take the kids if I leave, and I really want to leave, but she won't let me leave. And, I got 5 more years before my pension kicks in, and then I can leave, or when my dog dies, then I can leave, or whatever the sob story that he's giving her. Okay? So for an Onyx, she ends up finding herself with men who she shouldn't be with, but because they have their sob story. Another thing with Onyx, okay? Onyx also tend to attract men who don't biochemically bond to her. This is another thing that I've learned with an Onyx. Onyx, pay attention. If you're empathic, you oftentimes sabotage yourself when it comes to relationships. Because in order for a man to be able to biochemically bond to you, he has to produce vasopressin and oxytocin over a period of time. According to Don Maslar, if you have sex with a man before he's produced those vasopressin receptors, then you interrupt his vasopressin response, and then he stops producing vasopressin. But another thing that interrupts vasopressin production is when you are sitting there allowing this man to emotionally take a dump on you. When he's using you like an emotional toilet. He's sitting there telling you about his ex-wife and how she mistreats him and how he's scared about his job. And he's basically treating you like a therapist. And you think that you're bonding because that's how women bond. But that's not how men bond.
And then the last is the diamond. The diamond is the woman who doesn't see her value. She doesn't know her worth. She doesn't feel worthy. She doesn't feel enough. She usually dates down. She usually dates men that are beneath her. She doesn't aim for men who are successful, who are wealthy, who are attractive, who are smart. She doesn't believe that those kind of men are going to want her. And she believes it's safer to date down. So then she dates a man who's a ragamuffin. And then she gets played by the ragamuffin, which makes her feel even worse. So when she's approaching dating, remember there are 6 phases. 6 phases to a relationship. The attraction phase, the courting phase, the pull away phase, the engagement phase, and the marriage phase. So when a diamond is meeting a man, she meets him from the energy of, can you love me? Am I worthy to be loved? Let me prove that I am worthy. A diamond is the kind that will probably start cooking for a man. She's the one that will be in the Build-A-Bears podcast talking about, no, I cook for my man. I'll do whatever I need for my man. He's not even her man. He's not even her man, but here she is, jumping through hoops, walking his dog, washing the car, taking his mama to the grocery store, doing all these wifey things, and he hasn't given her any type of commitment. And oftentimes she'll be like, oh, I love myself, and really, no, she doesn't. She doesn't see that she's a diamond. She treats herself like she's a piece of coal. She doesn't see her value. So you fall into one of these archetypes: ruby, amethyst, diamond, onyx, citrine. And based on your unique love archetypes, then that affects the way you're approaching dating. That's the way you're approaching love.